Oh, snap. Here we go, going live. Oh, look at me. All right, I'm excited, y'all, because I am telling you that I have been wanting to come on here for a long time, but my bottleneck had been editing. So the fact that we have found this, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. Woo! I can feel it in my bones. It's so good. All right. So the first live stream of 30 minutes ago was just to see if I can figure it out. Nonetheless, a message came through in which I've been wanting to talk about for a while, anyways. So I'm totally okay that happened. Um, but right now, at this moment, I'm really wanting to talk about what I actually came to the live stream for in the first place. And so we just go give it a roll, give it a try, and see what happens. Because Lord knows, me and editing was not about that game. So if you were an editor, if you want to learn how to edit and you need content to edit and you want to be an intern, I don't care the age. Intern does not mean a certain age group, but if you want to learn, I am willing to teach to give you the foundational skills to propel you into the editing future you want. Yeah, that has often been, yeah, a an intent. I've actually had quite a few interns and mentees in my life who I've taught those skills, and they went on to be photographers, videographers, and the sorts. And so, yeah, nonetheless, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to show up as raw and real as you would experience me in person. Um, and just realize, like, yeah, I just want to be able to still share and document the journey, um, and not feel like I have to perform in any way. And yeah, I'll tell you this before we jump into this. My whoop, see, look at that. We over here spilling stuff. One of my pet peeves, I don't even know if that's the word I want to use. One of my unfavorable disappointments, and maybe that's on me on the expectations, is when you meet someone or is when you follow someone online and you think they're cool and like you feel like you connect and you're having this parasocial relationship, and you like the content that they're making, you like the way that they edit their videos. It seems like, you know, they're cool, calm, and collected, and you want to meet them in person one day. And then you do, and they are nothing in real life the same way that they are online. And yeah, I don't want to be that person. Um, if anything, if the person I want to be is whoever you see online, cool, sure, yeah. But I would actually rather be like better than expected in person. Now, I'm not trying to set myself up for a failure here. I don't think that's going to be the case. And I also don't want to set any expectations either. But like, I know for me, I've met people, like, they say, don't meet your heroes. I've met people that I've been following on socials for a long time. And I'm just being honest, I thought I knew them because I've been following them for a decade. And then when I met them in person, I was like, oh, that's not the same person. Um, and look, I want to give them grace. It's not that they're not the same person. Who knows? Who knows what they were going through in that experience at that moment in time when they met me? Who knows? And I can imagine someone feeling that kind of pressure to feel like the person that you're meeting online is the person you're meeting in person. Um, but I think that's why I'm like, here, I'm going to show up raw and real and live, so that it's at least as close of a gap. The gap is much smaller uh when I say this, when we actually meet in person. Um yeah, that's that Yeah, and like I said in my last live stream, I was building habits as a content creator that I don't want to express in person when I actually do talk to people. I don't talk like that. I don't want to create content creator habits and patterns that when you actually meet me in person, that's how it comes out. And I speak for myself when I talk to anyone in person. So, like, what you're about to experience is me just kind of doing my best to jot down my ideas of the experience that I had today and making sense of it in real time and sharing it all with you. And really wanting to just share with y'all where I'm at in the journey while my phone goes off. And where I'm at in the journey right now, after I pause it, which I'll tell you more about, is just recognizing the struggle and privilege of working from home, living in a virtual world, in a both a virtual and analog world, and pursuing entrepreneurship in this day and age requires a level of personal responsibility and leadership that is quite the learning curve, especially if you came from a system that has given you the environment, the structure, yeah, and the habits that they were preparing you for to work for the past current economy or the past economy. But we are in a transition, my friends. If you have not noticed, we are in a transition in society. And so that requires us to adapt in this transition. And so part of that for me is being my own accountability partner, um, being my own, and not own like in an individualistic way, just like I have to be my own teacher. I'm also being my own student. I'm being my own accountability partner. I'm being my own collaborator, co-founder, X, Y, and Z, all at the same time. So yeah, it's a learning curve because we came from structures that allowed us, that role was for other people, in which I still think is necessary, and what we're building for. But this is where we're at right now. And this is what I want to share with all of you. So let's get to my script over here. It's not even a script, it's just jotted notes, that I wanted to share with you about today's findings because it's actually really, really exciting. Like, I definitely had a breakthrough today. But it was like a breakthrough coincidence. Like, of course that happened. That's what we're doing. And yeah, really wanting to just bring you all like really into the journey. And I'm just excited because I don't have to freaking edit. Oh man. Do you want to learn how to edit? I'm sure you already do. I'm gonna be honest. I'm sure you already do because that's the world that we live in. Uh, it's almost a skill worth having if you're going to be online. Anyways, so I'm here to answer 8 minutes in, which I don't care. I don't care that you, whether you stayed here or not, because I didn't hook you in or not. Look at my last live stream. I'm not, that's not the game we're playing here. Okay. This is me. If you were to meet me in person, it might take a while to get to the point of what I'm trying to say. Um, and I'm okay with that because, yeah, because it's real life. I don't know what to tell you. So if you don't like a warm up, go follow another YouTuber. That is perfectly fine with me. All right. So where have I been? Because for a second, I think I was like 25, 21 videos, like straight day. Man, girl, let me tell you that. That took the whole day. Why did that take the whole day? Because of editing. What is so hard about editing? Because sometimes when you get too fancy and you have too much access to too many tools, you tend to get fancy. And I was trying to get fancy, y'all. And uh and the thing is I had to realize is that because of the way that my brain works and how thorough I am and how detail oriented I am, and because I can hear my own like thought processes in the raw video and how I want it to like pace and like yeah, I was just yeah, it took all day and it wasn't worth the exchange. It wasn't worth the time exchange, and that's okay with me. So as you saw, I did 21 days straight of YouTube. About 21 days, I would say. I'm saying 21 because I'm going to be honest, I think the way that my brain works, I can build momentum for 21 days and stay in it for that point. Let me check myself. Let me check myself because I don't want to put out a belief about myself because that's not the case. So you see right there, I was about to state something that's actually not true. It's just an observation. And it was going to lead me down a way of saying of like yeah, building a belief about myself that's not true and that I may have adopted and then turned into my identity to say I can only do things for 21 days. That's not true because a girl has been in this valley for 8 years. Um and I finish things. And that's the belief. So, let me try this again. My observations of my past self and current selves that I'm experimenting with is that as if I do something on my own by myself, no accountability, no support, no collaboration, my fuel, whether it's a mixture of motivation, urgency, what are the other ADHD fuels? Urgency, motivation. Come on, y'all. What is it? It is interest. Ugh, no, is that the word? Novelty is one of I'll say novelty is my biggest one. Um Competition. Oh, geez. I'm smarter than this. I have it written down somewhere. I have it written down. Should be somewhere close to be honest. Anyways, those are just four motivations. A mixture of that 21 days on my own by myself, especially on the novelty thing. I would say that is my favorite fuel for sure. Before I move on to the next thing. So you got 21 days, video straight. Editing sucked. Let me rephrase that. Editing was a challenge. Um, Not that I'm not good at it. I just put way more time into it than necessary. And it'd be like that. It'd be like that for me. I recognize that because I like to do things well and I like to be thorough and I like to, yeah, just put out my best, my best effort. And I think during that process, I had to realize that good enough is good enough. But the question is, just because it's good enough for those people out there does not mean it's good enough for me. And that's the tension and the conversation I'm having with myself. What is good enough for me and what's good enough to be put out? And this right here, even though the hat like it's not doing the thing, this right here is good enough for me. I can show up and not have to edit. I'm going to say that's good enough because I showed up. So with that said, um I would so I wanted to do something different. I was like, okay, how am I going to do these videos? Okay, let me get connected to others who are also in this process. And so I started an accountability group with two other people who were willing to do 100 videos a day. And I'm going to be honest with you, it was a fun competition because you can kind of see us like kind of like racehorses. We all started on the same day, but because I know me, I was like leading that forefront because that's how my energy rolls. I'm really good at starting things, launching things, and really having great momentum to get it started. But then to like stay out there in the ether, it requires the right environment. It requires the right collaborators, the right connectors, the right guides. Not even right. It just requires those people in those roles to keep me going. That's just the case. And the reality is this current group, we've all sputtered out. It's been pretty quiet for the past couple weeks. And so for me, the reason why I personally stopped beyond the fuel, not beyond the fuel sputtering out on its own, um, I couldn't make videos just for the sake of making videos. Uh, yeah, I just saw that the process of making videos didn't make sense to me. And for me, when I do anything, when I do most things, especially when it comes to projects, especially when it comes to collaborations, especially when it comes to creating stuff and contributing, my brain likes to know where my effort and my work contributes to the greater whole, to the greater picture, to the greater vision, to the greater mission. And yeah, if I don't see that clearly, then it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense for me to be there, at least. There's plenty of people out there that are willing to just do the work for the sake of doing the work because they got nothing else to do. That's okay. Um, but intentionality is so important to me. And yeah, I I can't do anything without intent. I can't just do things for the sake of doing things without knowing how it's going to have a ripple effect later on. Um, and so I stopped. I stopped making the videos and I recuperated and was like, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Okay, you're making videos to stay up with this 100-day challenge. Okay, cool. That's fine. Um, but that's not enough for you to keep going. So I t- I've been on a break for a second. I was like, who am I talking to? Who is this for? Why am I doing this? And so I pivoted slightly and I was like, well, let me continue working on my business because like YouTube or whatever, like use it to build community, use it to put out your flares, use it to find your people, all of those things. But at the end of the day, like you're really out here because you're at a place where you want to contribute to the greater whole of society by contributing and supporting and serving those at the individual level, at the group level, you know, in a in a localized way, right? Because again, you know, you throw a rock into a pond and what's the ripple effect? I am one human being. I recognize that I can't change the world, but there's one thing I can change and it's myself and those that I'm surrounded with. And I can't change them, but I can influence them. And man, that lesson in itself has taken me so long to understand, to realize that I cannot change the world. I cannot save the world. All I can do, the best thing I can do is save myself, heal myself. And so let that be a permeation of all of those around me. Okay. So I pivoted and I was like, who am I doing this for? Let me have this conversation. Between the last video and maybe earlier this week, I was just deep in the valley. I was just like, what is the point of all of this? And I say this because I've been pursuing entrepreneurship for 2 years and I'm just spinning my wheels. And that's what made me ask myself, like being here, being alone and isolated in Montreal, having only my partner as like my current like lifeline and connection to feel belonging in any sorts. Um, yeah, it just and trying to start a business, having all of the time freedom and energy freedom, and realizing I'm like, a girl is spinning her wheels. What is that about? Um, and so I was like, there has to be a brain thing. There has to be a brain thing. And so, with that said, I wanted to. This is probably a whole different video, but I'm literally like, I don't even care. I don't care if this is an hour. This is literally how my brain works. and and yeah, it just is what it is. What it is. So anticipate that. Obviously, you can see that now. It's a live stream here, but when you get to see the full video, like this is how my brain works. I don't know what to tell you. So that's when I started questioning. It was like I might have a different kind of brain. What are the other ways that brains can work? And that's when I started doing research. And, you know, the main conversation, the big conversation that's happening in 2025, 2026 is the development of ADHD. And so I started doing some research. And as I was doing the research, I was like, this doesn't feel like a full fit. And maybe it's really a lot of bit of other things, but like the actual expressions and lived experiences of it, I was like, it doesn't feel like a full fit. And so, based off of my research, I just want to share this with you because I wanted to update myself and my future self. And for those who are watching who might potentially think that they have ADHD, you're just gonna look, just here we are. Okay. um, is that there's another term that I found based off of this book called ADHD 2.0. And I'm going to read the definition here that I feel describes my current experience. And it might be helpful for those who also feel like the current definition of ADHD and how it's being expressed through others and expressed through content and such may not be spot on. But I felt like the definition in here of this new word that I'd like to contribute to the conversation of having experiencing a neurodivergent experience and brain might be helpful for all of us. Because again, I think that that's what makes, at least a way, at least what I think what makes me different is that I'm willing to explore for myself. And I'm not quick to buy in to other people's definitions, I guess you can say. I like to explore it for myself. So let's jump into this. Girl, I'm looking at this script and I'm looking at where I'm at. And I'm like, let me just drink some yerba mate. Go get yourself something because we're going to be here. We're going to be here. Oh, Lordy. Look at, see, this is what happens when you start pressing buttons. Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. This is what happens when you start pressing buttons. How do you undo that? Ugh, not cool, man. Not cool. Huh. Pop out chat. What did I just do? Whose idea was this? Silly me. All right, we're back. All right, let's come back. See, we're doing the second video. All right. So the new word is called vast. V as in Victor, A as in Andy, S as in short, and T as in Tiana. All right. So it says here again in ADHD 2.0. Modern life compels these changes. Okay, wait, maybe. Here it is. I'm going to boom, boom, bada bing. Beyond the sources of biologically based ADHD, there are a lot of people who act as if they have ADHD, but on close inspection turn out not to have the diagnosable condition. These are the people who have ADHD like symptoms caused by the conditions of modern life. Their ADHD is a response to the massive increase in stimuli that now bombard our brains and our world. I want to say that this book is written by Edward Hallowell, MD, and John Ratey, also MD. If you want to go look it up for yourself. Yes. The massive behavioral conditioning we've all been undergoing since the advent of ubiquitous electronic communications technology has changed us radically. But this dramatic, if not epochal change is underappreciated. It's underappreciated because we're living in it as it's happening. Like frogs in cold water that slowly gets heated up without the frogs trying to jump out until they're boiled. Our world has been getting heated up big time. And while we could jump out, it's pretty difficult to do so and still function in the modern world. Modern life has trained our brains to go faster and faster, to do more and more, to receive and transmit 24/7, and to require constant stimulation, be it from movies, TV, conversation, even news, as well as the minute to minute living of our lives. Most of us can go no more than a few seconds without looking for a screen. Modern life compels these changes by forcing our brains to process exponentially more data points than ever before in human history, dramatically more than we did prior to the era of the internet, smartphones, and social media. The hardwiring of our brains has not changed. As far as we know, although some experts do suspect that our hardwiring is changing, but in our efforts to adapt to the speeding up of life and the projectile spewing of data splattering onto our brains all the time, we've had to develop new, often rather antisocial habits in order to cope. These habits have come together to create something we now call VAST, the variable attention stimulus trait. I'll say it again, the variable attention stimulus trait, because the girl's not editing. So I'll say it one last time. The variable attention stimulus trait. So whether you have true ADHD or its environmentally induced cousin VAST, it's important to detoxify the label and focus on the inherent positives. To be clear, we don't want you to deny there is a downside to what you're going through, but we want you to also identify the upside. In the descriptors we offer for VAST below, you will see there's no requirement for impairment because we're not designating this as a disorder, but as a trait. You will note you will note there is also mention of many strengths, and unlike a formal ADHD diagnosis for which 6 out of 9 criteria on the axis of inattention or the axis of hyperactivity and impulsivity need to be present, there's no set of number of descriptors to qualify for the diagnosis, or what we prefer to call the description or self portrait. In fact, the diagnostic criteria for ADHD found in DSM 5, the official diagnostic manual, have inadvertently created a lot of confusion. People often ask, do I have ADD or ADHD? Technically, there's no longer any such thing as ADD. You only have ADHD, but there are qualifiers. If you have at least 6 out of the 9 symptoms on the axis of inattention, but not the axis of hyperactivity and impulsivity, then you have ADHD, predominantly inattentive. This is what used to be called ADD. If you have 6 out of 9 symptoms on both axes, then you have ADHD combined type. And if you are one of the extremely rare people who have symptoms only on the axis of hyperactivity and impulsivity, then you have ADHD predominantly hyperactive impulsive. For the variable attention stimulus trait, VAST, we do not call what we offer below diagnostic criteria, which I'm going to share with all of you at all. Instead, if you see yourself in the following list of descriptors enough that they describe you and set you apart from others, well, then VAST fits you. And what we have to say about how we live best with this trait may be useful to you. Last, in the chart we have created in the pages that follow, you'll quickly see that there is an opposite word to each descriptor. That's because, like ADHD, VAST is a condition of paradoxical pairs, ups and downs, lefts and rights. That's why living with it can be such a mishmash, so confusing, but also so exciting, and at times groundbreaking. You'll also note that there's a lot of overlap among the 20 descriptors of ADHD. Okay. Woo wee. I know you're like, girl. And I said, I know, I told you. So I felt like that was important to read. So it gives you some context as to what we're about to read. And I'm saying this out loud because I feel like this is how it's being expressed through me. So as you can see here, you can see it says useful and problematic, quote unquote. I don't know who said that. Um, it's not a problem if you don't call it a problem. I'll tell you that much. So I'm just going to name a few that stand out to me. I'm not going to list the whole thing because I'm going to encourage you to do your own research. I'm going to encourage you to get a library card. I'm going to encourage you to go buy a book and read it for yourself. Because as much as I love YouTube being the resource that it is, giving you the answers that are here, I think it's really important to practice the skill of critical thinking, research, and personal exploration. So, with that said, a couple of the traits that stand out to me in my experience and that may stand out to you in your experience are these. All right. Like I talked about earlier, useful, meticulous at times, especially on projects that matter a great deal. Problematic, usually disorganized, even chaotically so. Chaos can rule to such an extent that school, job, marriage hang in balance. I disagree with that for myself. That's not my experience. An appreciation of the offbeat, unusual, unconventional. I agree with that. A potential problem is an inability or refusal to conform or get in line when doing so is obviously in his or her best interest. Sure, right? Dreamer par excellence, visionary, lives on wings of imagination, flights of fancy. Potential problem, sometimes so bored by reality that he or she ignores it and gets into trouble for having done so. I'd say that's pretty accurate. At least what might be problematic is that it's difficult to connect with others because I'm so freaking bored of what they're talking about. It's so surface. And I'm just like, oh, this is not soul food. Please, someone else satiate me. And I'm going to be honest, it's why I prefer to read books because it's actually interesting to me in my brain. So it's not personal if I don't want to be in the conversation. Like, it is what it is. That's okay. Now leave me alone so I can read my book. Just kidding. Ah, whoops. Honest to a fault. Will say what others don't dare say. Outspoken, blunt. Ugh, potentially problematic. Can hurt feelings and damage self. Can unwittingly be cruel, which is the last thing he or she wants to be. Yeah, that feels true for me. You just experienced that. So if I hurt your feelings, I apologize. Um, it wasn't intentional. Yeah, it's not what I want to be known for or whatever. I just sometimes these thoughts just get ahead of me. Mm, but I'm in practice. As you can tell, you can see what I'm talking like I'm in practice of trying to have my brain and my words be as close together as possible, but it's not always the case. I think a couple more. Oof, this is a big one. Naturally creative. Ideas pop all the time, like in a popcorn machine. And it could be a potential problem because you have trouble organizing all the ideas and doing something productive with them. I'm going to say thank goodness for AI because I wouldn't have gotten this far in the vision that's been planted in my heart to pursue if I didn't have it. So I'm grateful for this tool. And lastly, naturally curious, always wanting to know who, what, where, why, and how. Never satisfied until he or she gets an answer. Until he, she, or they gets an answer. Easily distracted by novelty or any puzzle, conundrum, unsolved problem, or beguiling opportunity, however irrelevant it may be. So, yes, And this list, I just started on the front page. There's a whole back page. So I'm going to just pause it right there, let you do your own research. Again, this is a snapshot of the book. So go get it. Do your own research and see what speaks true for you. Dang. Looking at this script, we are moving on to the next part. And so I've had the opportunity to reconnect with actually my career advisor, academic advisor from university. It's been 12 years since I've talked to her, and we had the chance to talk this morning. No, this afternoon, today. And I was telling her, it's interesting talking to her because she knew me when I was a youngster and when I was in the midst of changing my major. And as I've shared with some of you that I was pursuing to become a teacher, there's my next alarm. And I didn't become a teacher because something in me told me that the educational system wasn't going to be what it is. And also, I couldn't bring myself to teach that curriculum. I think I took a British literature class and I was like, I ain't gonna teach this to nobody. uh, and yeah, and I also just felt like it was unfair that teachers are literally raising generations and societies and they weren't getting paid for that. Like that wasn't something of value uh, for the past 100, 200 years. I was like, this is bull honky. And even though as much as I feel in my heart, I'm a teacher to want to pass on, knowledge, wisdom, experiences, anything that can support the next person in living their best life, becoming their best selves, and having the highest experiences they can have on this earth. Yeah, I was like, I can't be a part of that system. And so that's when I told her, I'm going to change my major and I want to pursue becoming a talk show host. And it wasn't just like this idea, like, I'm just going to be a talk show host. Like, I took some time to reflect and I asked myself, how can I still have a classroom setting, teaching a curriculum that I'm passionate about, teaching people that want to be there, and get paid accordingly for it? And I thought of Oprah and Ellen, and I was like, technically, they're teachers, and it's just being recorded. um, and they're having these conversations, and they get to follow their curiosity and talk and teach on things that they're passionate about in that moment or that season, whatever. Obviously, they had to play the game of entertainment too, but they were getting paid accordingly, I would say. And so, having that dream and graduating and then reconnecting with her 12 years later, I was telling her on our call that I have prolonged reconnecting because I felt ashamed that I didn't have anything to show for. I didn't have anything to show for, was the story that I told myself. And, for the past 13 years, all that I've been trying to recreate was the experience I had within the learning environment that particular department created. So it's a if you know, it's a trio program. It's student support services, and specifically at Northern Arizona University, it's the lead center. It's not called that anymore as things change, but just my experience in the support and the learning environment and the love and the acceptance and just the the presence, the intentionality, the investment, the whole experience. I've been trying to recreate and find, not even recreate. I've been trying, I mean, yeah, recreate. I've been trying to find it out here post graduation, and many times trying to recreate it to some extent. Um, but it's like, yeah, I mean, the best way I can do it is like I tried and failed, tried and failed, tried and failed, tried and failed. And I was trying to do it in the context of what was already out there. Whether it was through working in coffee and working in the coffee shop, whether it's working in nonprofits, whether it's working in corporate for for a second. Like I've been trying to recreate this environment that I experienced in university, and that she, as my advisor, um, provided for me and gave to me. And it was, yeah, that experience. I just realized like how privileged I was to experience it, and I took on a personal responsibility to want to recreate that experience for other people to have access to, and recognizing that the educational system, yeah, you there's a door to it, right? And there's a lot of hoops to get through to experience that experience. And I just felt so grateful and privileged to have experienced it. And so much so, like it was one thing to go to college, it's another thing to have the experience that I had. And that's another conversation for another day. But I just thought everybody, as everybody who wants to experience this, should be able to have access to experience this. And that's what I've been in the pursuit of this whole time. Um, and what's brought me back to here. And so to wrap up the conversation with my academic, well, she's not my academic, she's a friend now, right? Like it's 13 years, she's a friend now. But my advisor is, and she's a therapist now, so she can like really see my heart in this. But I was telling her about how I felt ashamed, and that's why I haven't stayed connected, um, to her or anyone else in that space, because I think that there was this air that I gave, that whatever I put my mind to or whatever I want to do, that I can do it. And to feel like I haven't done it yet. Yeah, I just felt ashamed about that. And so I was feeling emotional in the conversation, and she basically said, "You you are what is to be shown for." Like I'm the evidence of the investment that was made in me during that time. And that all of the work that I've done since then, the seeds that were planted during that time, and all of the work I've done since then, and being able to interact with me, her saying this to me, with me now, like it's so evident that your growth is what you have to show for. And if anything, all that you've learned, all that you experienced, and all that you've come up to this moment, it's because now it's your turn to create those spaces. And I remember when she was telling that to me, it was really, I just felt like a half smile turning on my face because I was trying to it, it's like I knew that, but it's another thing to accept that, to be reminded that I am enough. Like, and not in a cheesy way. Like, I'm not trying to make this cheesy, but like, I'm saying this in a sense that if you ever felt like you needed to get another certification, if you needed to get another degree, if you needed to go to college, if you needed to make more money, if you needed to have the house, have the kids, have the wife, have the dog, if you felt like that you needed to have your proof be tangible, something that you can touch, something that you can hold on to, what I was reminded by the interaction with her was that us as like a being, a human being and a living being, and these creatures of humanness is already more than enough. I think the attention to growth, and the intention to grow, to become all that we can be in this life beyond the tangibles, is actually way more important now more than ever, because these tangibles are going away. The money, the environment, so many things, right? And even this it's going away. And yeah, I'm just reminded. She just reminded me of like, I am the proof. I am the proof and the evidence of all of what everybody does is worth it. Every conversation, every resource, every minute, every meeting, every question, every is all stacking up in our favor. And realizing that I couldn't teach what was in the educational system and that curriculum because I didn't believe in it. And I couldn't teach theory or specialization in anything. And that's because for me, I felt like it was important for me to teach through lived experience. And to teach through lived experience meant that I had to do some living. And so that's what this 8 years have been, is not only living, but the remembrance and practice of being. Not just doing, but being. And so to wrap up that conversation with my advisor, she said, I can see that you're ready to step into the role of teacher, of coach, of guide, of mentor. And I told her I feel like Kung Fu Panda, Po. I showed a video with Summer on here where I showed the actual clips of Master Shifu telling Po that it was time for them to step into being teacher and to teach. I think it was like the Fab Five or the Fierce Five, the best fighters known in their village and in the world at that time. And it was time for Po to teach them. And Po was like, how can I teach them? What can I teach them? And that's, them, I'm thinking of my advisor, like, what do I have to teach you? Like, you know so much, you've done so much, you've lived longer. And just remembering, just seeing that image and feeling it in myself, the hesitancy to step into that role. But for my advisor to some cases act like the Master Shifu and be like, no, it's your turn. It's your turn. Or at least it's gonna be your turn. And that brings me to today. So today, I had my morning pages. And let me go back. Let me go back to like this past week, actually. So, as you know, I feel like I've been in the valley, like deep in it, right? And what is a valley? First off, I'm from the valley. I'm from Phoenix. What is a valley? A valley is in between two mountains. Okay. So I've been in the valley because the reality is the mountain I'm climbing, or I want to climb, or I'm wanting to ascend, I have a vision of myself that I want to experience there. And after university, I was on top of a mountain, but I saw that there was another mountain. And I was like, I want to get there. How do I get there? And unfortunately, the way that life works is it's not by helicopter, it's not by plane, it's not by slack line, by nothing. You got to go through the valley to get to the next mountain. And so, as I've been in the valley for the past 8 years, no, 13, I would say, I mean, I rode, oh yeah, I'd say 8 years. I'm almost a decade. Um, yeah, I was just feeling down and out about myself. And I was like, man, this vision, this vision, this vision. What are we doing? What are we doing it? When is it going to reveal more of itself? Are we getting there? Are we close? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And it was this past week, maybe a week and a half, maybe two, where I was like, I got to do something different. But that me saying that right there, that's a part of the mix match of the formula. And so I was reminded by a conversation between Lewis Howes and Myron Golden. of the principle of be, do, have. And so this principle has been like in my ether. I've heard it. I've heard it in the past 8 years, but it's been really in my ether, I would say, since the beginning of this year. And it's been in my ether, I think, for me to pay attention to, for me to set intentions towards, and for me to actually practice. I feel like for me, it feels like the ends of a chapter. And what is the be do have paradigm? Let me give you the short version. In this current society that we live in, we have this language that when I have that thing, when I have more money, then I will do this thing so I can be that person. Do you get what I'm saying? When I have this, then I'll do that so then I can be that person. Well, this paradigm shift is saying actually, the principle is be that person now who does those things so you can have the thing that you desire. And I know it's like a mind F because you're like, what? This whole time they trained us and programmed us to do more, do more, do more, work hard, have discipline, have motivation, hustle, 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 hustle. I love Gary Vee, but my guy, you dropped in like at least 10 years of hustling, 10 years of doing, and you didn't give us the back formula of of all of the work that you've done prior to that because of who you were, who you are, who you were being. So that confused the crap out of us younger kids. We're like, what? Hustle, hustle, hustle. I'm doing more, but I'm just like now at this point, I say for myself, I was just running in place. I was just running in place. And so this paradigm and principle has found its way to me in the past 6 months. And the past 2 weeks, week and a half, I'm like, okay, what does that actually look like? What does that actually mean? And so I was like, okay, who do I want to be? Who is it that I want to be? And I am being a creator entrepreneur and a creative director. Okay. How does a creator entrepreneur show up each day? How does a creative director show up each day? And that's when I was like, all right, AI, you tell me, because this is what I think I'm doing. This is what I think I want to be. Is this the right language for it? What would this person do on a day to day basis to have those experiences? And so I started doing my research and I was like, all right, that's what I got to do. Okay. So as you can see here on my wall, I was like, my wall didn't say this at first, but because of my brain and the way that I experience life through vast, variable attention stimulating trait, something like that. I was like, all right, we got to keep it simple because if it's not simple, I ain't go do it. So as you can see over there, I was like, all right, I want to be a creative director and I want to be a creator entrepreneur. What does that look like? So I'm currently testing this out. The be, do, have paradigm. And I had to ask myself over here, what does, I'll bring it closer to you. What does a creative director do on a day to day basis? Okay, so they clarify the vision and the direction for brand, offers, platforms, creating content. It's about the story and the aesthetic. Okay, what does the creative or the creator entrepreneur do? They build offers, products, sales pages, pricing, client systems, experiences, packaging, and systems. They focus on the strategy and positioning. Okay, that's two different parts of the brain, which is really what it is. It's the left brain and the right brain. I can't remember which one's which. So if you know which one is which, I can Google it, but this is where we're at. I'm pretty sure the creative part is the left brain and the logical part is the right brain. So that's just a lot of brain work, my friends. But I was like, okay, no matter who I'm being that day, I have a morning routine. Okay. And then whoever I'm being that day also gets a lunch break. All right. Cause we need a rest. But then you get back on the horse in the afternoon. And so, what I've learned about myself and how my brain works and my energy and following my energy and my flow and my cycles and what I need to do is low hanging fruit at the end of the day, right? Towards the end. But also, no matter what happens, I'm training, okay? Taking care of myself. And towards the end of the night, we are doing some really, like, really simpler work, okay? So, for me, I've learned that external triggers are really important. Like I need to see it. If I don't see it, I don't know what we're doing. And if you look through my whole office, I am being reminded of what I'm trying to do here. Okay. So then I had to ask myself, all right, where am I at on the creator entrepreneur journey? Given this is a whole new game that I'm playing. And so I found this by Daniel Priestley, which is The Entrepreneur's Journey. And so he said, you are here in the audience and the offer aspect. Okay. This is the part of the game of business. This is what you're doing. This is the game you're playing now. You're not playing teacher, not teacher, but you're not in the educational system. You're not playing corporate. You're playing the game of business. Okay. And this is what it requires, which man is a whole thing on its own. But I'm going to tell you, being in it for 2 years, it's starting to make sense. And exposing myself to it for 5 years is starting to make sense. So I had to be like, okay, you are here in the process because my brain would be like, you're doing all those things all the time, which you are to some extent. But like, focus on what you're actually doing. Okay. But as I am me and I like to change things up, I was like, okay, we got to change it up from day to day. I'm going to be an entrepreneur one day. I'm going to be a director one day. I don't know how well that's working for me right now. I'm just going to be honest. Um, because I'm very much locked into this legacy offer that I'm creating. So with that said, my goodness, we're starting to sputter out, friends. Sputtering out, and that's okay. It is what it is, what it is. Um, this is my practice of the be do have paradigm. This is my experimentation. This is my exploration. But it's not just with the calendar. I'm using the tools that I have. I'm currently using an ADHD app called Timo. So if you want to try that out, it's not sponsored. Maybe one day it will be. Today is not that day. But I had to even Google what is the point of this app. I bought it thinking it was going to be for one thing, but I realized I was using it for the wrong thing and I needed to update that. So I did. And now, this continued reiteration of just trying something new and using the tools that you already have. So that's where I'm currently at in the journey, is practicing the be do have paradigm by being a creator entrepreneur, which is creating and focusing on this legacy offer that I'm really confident and excited about because I've been doing it for 10 years and I'm excited to give it and serve it to other people. But on a day to day, how do I show up as a creative director? And so that also means like in my dress, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And also creating the content. And here we are. But it's having like the bigger conversations with myself, being like, what is it that I'm good at? I'm good at showing up on camera. What is it that I don't like to do and what drains my energy? Editing. I know you're like, okay, stop talking about it. I get it. Okay, well then, just when I'm looking for an editor. Okay. So to bring you up to speed, and let's wrap this up towards the end. We're towards the end now of the script, but you can see now where I'm like, so if you see all of my previous videos, if they're 20 minutes long, 30 minutes long, 10 minutes long, 15, this is the raw process. And as to why it took me so long to edit, we're not doing that no more. All right. So today, the final thing I want to share with you, bringing you all up to speed for today, because I'm wanting to give you some clarity as to what I've come up with, where I think this is where I'm at in the journey and what you get to look forward to as we continue to get to know each other, um, and potentially collaborate, connect, and work with each other in the future. So, given this conversation I had with my advisor and her saying and witnessing that I'm stepping into this role as teacher, guide, role model, mentor, coach, and to have lived some life and to teach from that lived experience and to guide from that lived experience. What I've been working on for the past decade. And I got to write this part down because I'm like, oh yeah, 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 that's it. See, and it kind of happens right there, right? What I'd like to teach you all that I've lived through, that I've experienced, that I'm continuously working on and reiterating, but I believe I have a solid foundation and understanding of it, is one, my identity and my mindset, and two is my presence. And that's what my advisor reminded me of, is that our presence, the ways that we're interested, the ways that we're curious, the ways that we are attentive, the ways that we're paying attention, is the gift. And I think, not even think, I know and I believe that that's the gift I want to give in this season, the gift of presence, because I didn't have that growing up. And to know the difference, that just because they were present, they were present in the house, doesn't mean that they had presence. And what does presence look like? Again, it's the being interested, it's the being curious, it's wanting to support, wanting to just be there, but like be there, be here, be all here, to be actively listening, to be actively paying attention. And the reality is, to practice being present moment to moment, which is in this world, It's a whole different kind of mastery and practice. It requires being present with yourself. And that's what I've been doing for the past 8 years. I've been practice being present in my life. I was literally being the person I needed when I was younger. And so, like, even thinking about this channel, we're talking about role models. I think even at this point, I'm like, did I need a role model? Or did I just want someone to be present and do life with me? But I think that's a part of leadership, is to be present in the lives of the people that you're influencing, impacting, and leading. But you can't lead others if you can't even lead yourself. You can't be present with others if you're not even present with yourself. And so it makes sense as to why I'm so passionate about having a different relationship with our devices. Because for me, in my observation, it is the one thing that's creating division, not only with each other, but with ourselves. It's literally this thing that's between us and our experience of life. And so, what I'm trying to say is that I'm ready to teach. And I believe that my curriculum at this point is to, one, help you have a different relationship with your devices. To break any digital addictions you may have, because I had to do that for myself. That's literally that was the first thing I did, was I started untangling myself from my phone 8 years ago. And so once I did that, I would say that's when I started working on, and I'm doing this in real time. I'm like, okay, I think it goes like this. That's when I started asking myself, who am I without my phone? Who am I without social media? Who am I without this device? So then I started having those conversations with myself. And started doing a lot of reflection, started connecting a lot of the dots, right? And so once I defined that for myself, I then started being that version of me that I claimed and declared, and was practicing being present with that version of myself, and accepting that, right? And now, and it's not, I'm currently in the practice of I'm currently in the practice of being, doing, having, and like focusing on that. Like understanding what is my focus, what is my vision, what is it that I want to experience, and focusing, yeah, focusing on the vision and being the person that I need to be who does the things that I need to do to experience, to have that vision. So, with that said, whew, yeah, with that said, that will be my personal curriculum that I'm putting together for the Creator Leadership Academy. That is the, I don't know how far that mountain is. But it's, it's a mountain for sure. And I don't know if I'm that's a mountain I'm climbing right now. Um Maybe in a virtual way. I'll say that. I could say that out loud. A virtual Creator Leadership Academy. Um but yeah, the vision is to have it to be the recreation of the environment that I experienced at Northern Arizona University in the Lead Center with student support services and with those amazing people that I had during that time. Not only the advisors that were in there, the guides, the teachers, the coaches, the mentors, but also just those I was doing life with. And that place just being present on campus during that transition, I wouldn't have made it to the end the way that I did without them. And like I said, I feel a personal responsibility and desire and willingness to recreate that for others to experience, no matter the age, no matter the what's the word? Yeah, no matter the age, no matter the identities, and more importantly, just at an affordable price, like, and for it to be accessible. The fact that that experience is gatekept to only a few people, a few millions of people. I believe everybody deserves to have that kind of learning environment to be supported in becoming more of themselves and who they want to be, and to be provided the tools and resources to do so. So, with that said, yeah, I'm proud to get to this point in the journey. And I'm so grateful to get to this point in the journey. And even though it still may be the valley, I want to recognize that we are trekking up that mountain and that eventually we'll get to the top of this mountain. And to also recognize that if I want to get to the next mountain, there will be another valley to go through. But I'm just feeling grateful that today happened the way that it did, that the vision revealed more of itself the way that it did. And yeah, I'm just ready to get to work and to enjoy it, to enjoy the work, to finally teach the curriculum that I want to teach. And it's through lived experience, not through theory, not through a book. It's through my lived experience. And I just can't believe we made it here. And yeah, I'm just excited to put this together for all of you. And like I said, the mantra was to teach a curriculum I'm passionate about. Hey, that's one check mark. Ooh, look at that. Now, the next check mark is for students who want to be here. That's what's most important. So if you're still here on this video, girl, come on now. uh, yeah, I think that I'll be meeting you hopefully sooner than later and actually get to know you and be present with you in your journey and teaching you what I've learned in the first quarter half of my life. Is that the correct quarter? First quarter? All right. It's the end of the day, y'all. I appreciate you for watching. Thank you so much for your time, your attention. I want you to know that I do not take it for granted. And yeah, just recognizing that yeah, you could be anywhere else in the world right now. And the fact that you're watching this piece of content still, yeah, I feel just extremely grateful and also excited to meet you very, very soon. So with that said, if you'd like to connect and be like, yo, I saw you all the way through the end of your life, please connect with me on Instagram at IamKShort. I would love to connect with you there and see how I can support you right now beyond building out this curriculum. But anyways, yeah, I would love to know how I can support you right now beyond this video. All right. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next live very, very soon because a girl ain't editing no more. All right. Love y'all. Bye now.